Just settle in now. Let your shoulders drop. Feel the tension gently melt away. Notice your breathing, softer, slower. Lighter dot, you are safe here. The world can wait. Right now, nothing is asked of you except stillness. Close your eyes, or let them rest softly open if that feels better. Let the air around you cradle your skin like the hush of a woolen blanket. A soft hush, a quiet evening. You might hear the distant sound of a crackling fire, the faint rustle of leaves outside your window, or maybe just the whisper of your own breath as it rises and falls, gently, naturally. Now, take one. More slow breath in and a long breath out, and let us begin. Our story tonight sets sail beneath a velvet sky, where lanterns flicker against ancient stone walls, and the stars, oh, the stars, they hum gently above, waiting to be known. In the heart of a quiet village, far from roads and far from time, there stands an observatory tower round us. A lighthouse, tall as a tale. It's made of smooth, gray stones, each one laid by hand centuries ago, still firm and whispering stories of all who've passed through. Vines creep up one side like they're trying to listen in. A single door, wooden and heavy, rests at its base. Inside, it smells of parchment and beeswax, of old ink and soft dust. The stairs curve like a snail shell, winding upward with gentle creaks. And up at the top, just beneath the domed roof that opens like a flower when the sky is clear, there lives a woman. Her name is not written in any book, but she is known. Some call her the Starwatcher. Some say she was once a nun. Others whisper that she's over 100 years old and still waiting for a comet that passed when she was a child. But truly, she is simply a scholar, a woman of parchment, of silence, of wonder. Each night, as the village settles into slumber and the hearths dim to embers, she wraps herself in her fur-lined cloak stitched long ago by her own mother and climbs to the open platform above. Cloak is thick and smells faintly of lavender and old wool. The hem brushes the ground like a whisper, and the hood shadows her silver hair, which she always ties back with a thin leather cord. The cold night air kisses her cheeks as she steps outside. The wind is soft tonight, like a sigh. Beneath her, boots, the stone platform holds the chill of centuries. But she's used to that. She sets her tools in order. A feather quill, black as a raven's wing. A bottle of ink, thick and blue like midnight. And a stack of clean parchment, waiting patiently. All around her, the stars blink, some familiar, some new. She hums softly as she works. Just a little melody her father used to sing about a fisherman who once caught a falling star in his net and gave it to a queen. She opens her great leather-bound journal. It is full of constellations, some named after kings, some after foxes and wolves. Others she has named herself, like the sleeping otter or the crown of wind. As she tilts her head back. The heavens seem to lean closer, like they too are listening. The stars have always been her lullaby. In the Middle Ages, people believed the stars governed our dreams. They believed dreams drifted down like mist from the heavens, whispered to us by planets and constellations. Scholars like her, long ago, would map the sky to understand fate, to glimpse the future in the movements of celestial fires. Tonight, she is charting a new one. It shimmered last night near the edge of the bear's tail, just a flicker, but real, and now she watches again. She makes slow marks on her parchment, circles, stars, faint connecting lines that form patterns only she understands. The stars are silent, but they speak. Their language is slow. Their messages take centuries. But the Star Watcher is patient. She remembers what the old monks once taught. That time moves like honey, not like fire. That knowledge is not chase, but welcome. Far below her, the village sleeps. Children tucked into feather beds, hens quiet in their coops. A dog dreaming near the blacksmith's fire, but up here only. The wind moves, and it moves gently, like breath on a window pane. She dips her quill again. The ink moves with a soft scratch across parchment, a sound like rain against a window. She pauses to sip from her mug some warm milk steeped with crushed chamomile blossoms. Soothing, sweet, calming. This too is part of her ritual. Chart the stars, sip, breathe, write, listen. Long ago, medieval astronomers used little more than the naked eye, a wooden astrolabe, and trust in what they saw. They didn't need telescopes. They needed stillness. She closes her eyes now and just listens. The stars, the air, the night. This is not a story of adventure or battle or kings. It is a story of stillness, of slow things, of skies that stay, even when we forget to look. The Starwatcher hums again, a lullaby without words, a melody shaped by silence. As you listen, let your breath join hers, soft, steady. Let your heartbeat slow to match the rhythm of stars. And imagine you're wrapped in your own warm cloak, standing beside her, watching, waiting, not for anything to happen, but simply to witness the night. To feel time melt into starlight, to know that you are not small, but part of something ancient, something beautiful. The kind of beauty that does not shout, it only glows. And above that glow, a soft breeze stirs the folds of her cloak, carrying with it a scent, something distant and sweet, perhaps wild thyme blooming somewhere on the hillside below, or the last of summer's lavender caught in the stones. She lifts her face to the stars, eyes half closed, as if letting them trace old constellations upon her skin. Many years ago, she read a parchment, centuries old, that claimed a person who gazes at the same stars every night will begin to dream with them, that their breath will sync with the turning of the heavens. She liked that thought, not because it was scientific, but because it felt true. Tonight, the journal pages rustled gently in the breeze. She turns a sheet, carefully folding the corner to mark the new constellation she's watching. She's called it the Resting Fox. Just a handful of stars, low in the northern sky, curled in a shape that looks like sleep itself. She smiles. The stars never rush. They never force anything. And so, neither does she. Far away, in the villages and towns of the medieval world. Other scholars once did the same. In Paris and Prague, Bologna and Cairo. Men and women in robes once stood beneath the same skies, tracing Saturn's curve with trembling fingers, charting eclipses, whispering to their students in candlelit halls that the sky was not chaos, but a kind of lullaby, written in pinpricks of light. Some even believed the stars hummed, that if you stood very still, very quiet, you could hear the spheres themselves turning. A harmony so delicate it slipped between breaths. The Starwatcher hums again. Not to echo them, but to honor them. To honor the dreamers who came before her, and the dreamers yet to come. Inside the tower, the hearth crackles gently. A few embers still glow orange and soft, like sleeping fireflies. Her cat, a pale gray tabby with cricked whiskers, curls beside the warmth. He twitches once, chasing some mouse across the fields of his dreams. She'd join him soon. But not just yet. First, she must mark the moon. Tonight, it is a waxing gibbous round like a pearl, but not yet whole. In the old days, farmers believed the shape was lucky for planting beans, and that dreams during a waxing moon were prophetic. Though only if you whispered them to the sky before sunrise. She dips her pen again, and with careful hands, sketches the shape. A soft curve, a quiet shine. As she works, her breathing slows further. Even her thoughts drift like clouds, barely touching. This is not work to her. It is prayer, but a prayer without language. One made only of wonder. And wonder is enough. You, too, can join her now. Imagine yourself climbing those spiral steps, each one old, cool, and worn smooth beneath your bare feet. You carry a lantern. Its glow is gentle, honey-colored. You pass the stone walls, each curve bringing you closer to the open sky dot at the top. The air is cool and kind. You wrap yourself in a soft cloak, perhaps wool, perhaps velvet. It smells like lavender and old paper. And there she is, the Starwatcher. Waiting beside her parchment dot, she offers you a page and a quill. No words, just a nod, and you understand. Tonight, there's nothing to do but notice, breathe, mark a star, or simply gaze. No one will ask you for more. Not here, not tonight. The sky turns slowly, as it always does. The constellations slit from east to west, whispering old stories that no longer need names. And the village below breathes gently in sleep. Even the river, unseen, murmurs in its bed like a child lost in dreams. A wind stirs again so soft it barely lifts your hair, but you feel it. You always do. The Starwatcher closes her journal. She ties it with a strip of leather, then cups her hands around the mug of warm milk once more. She sips, smiles. The cat mews faintly from inside. He's waiting, but he knows her rhythm by now. She looks to the stars one final time tonight. She doesn't say goodnight. She never does. She simply looks, then bows her head, not in worship, but in gratitude. And now, it is time for you to rest. Let the cool night air gently tuck you in. Let the cloak of the Starwatcher settle. Softly over your shoulders, breathe in and out like the sky itself. Slow, open, endless. No more questions. No more days to chase, just stars, just breath. Just the hush of everything you don't need to carry anymore. Tonight, you are starlight, you are stillness, you are safe. Sleep, now. Drift, glow, disappear into the hush of the heavens. The coals have nearly gone out. Only a faint red glow lingers in the hearth, like starlight tucked beneath stone. The Starwatcher has set down her quill. Her journal is closed, her boots loosened at the ankles. She now sits curled in a great wooden chair, her fur cloak draped around her shoulders like a memory, the tabby cat purse softly beside her, a tiny living metronome of comfort. The night wind taps once, gently against the high windows, then leaves her in stillness, and now she sleeps, but sleep for a Starwatcher is never just sleep. It is a wandering, a drifting, a return. Tonight, her dream begins in the same tower, but younger. The air smells not of lavender and dust, but fresh wood and pine sap. She is a child again. 10, perhaps 11, clutching a blanket and staring up at her father's long fingers as he points out the stars. There, he says softly, that is the one I named for your mother. See it? The one that always twinkles first. And she nods. Because even in dreams, she remembers. The stars were her lullaby long before she knew how to write. Before ink. Before parchment. Before the cloak. The dream shifts. Now she's walking a quiet field. Barefoot. The grass is cold with dew. But she doesn't mind. She carries a lantern. Not to see the ground, but to guide someone else. And in the distance, a figure approaches. Cloaked like her, head bowed, hands wrapped around the journal of their own. They do not speak, but she knows. This is her apprentice, not yet met in waking life, but already chosen by the stars. Perhaps they are still a child, somewhere far away, asleep beneath the same sky. And one day, they will climb these spiral steps, and she will hand them her cloak, and the sky will open to them as it once opened for her. The wind shifts again, and the dream fades like mist. Now she stands on the rooftop again, but the stars are gone, hidden behind thick clouds. And yet, the moonlight still spills softly around her. She hears a sound, a wing beat, slow and wide, From the darkness comes an owl, its feathers the color of smoke and frost. It lands on the edge of the stone railing and stares at her with eyes like tiny silent clocks dot in the dream. She speaks. "I've been watching the stars for so long," she whispers. "But I think they've been watching me too." The owl blinks once and then nods. Just once before spreading its wings and lifting into the sky, not flapping, just rising. Like breath, she watches until it disappears, then places a hand over her heart, and in her dream she begins to hum. A lullaby, the same melody she once heard as a child, the same one she will one day teach to another. Back in the waking world, the fire gives one final pop dot. She stirs slightly in her chair, adjusts her cloak, and sighs, not because she is tired, but because sleep is so gentle here. The tower is still. The stars, invisible now behind clouds. The village below the tower is still, blanketed in the hush of midnight. A few chimneys release their final sighs of smoke, and window shutters rest tightly closed, like eyes that have dreamed all they need for one night, but not all are sleep dot at. The edge of the village, past the cobbler's quiet stall and the well with its frozen bucket rope, someone stirs beneath a heavy woven shawl. A girl, thin boots, scratched linen glass, hands wrapped tightly around a notebook with no writing yet inside dot. She has watched the tower for months, from a window, from the tall grass, from the edge of the orchard when she pretends to gather apples long gone. She's never been inside, never spoken to the woman above, but she feels the pull, not just to the stars, but to the stillness, to the quiet way the Starwatcher moves, to the gentle way she never rushes, never explains, never shouts. Tonight, the girl takes a step forward, just one, then another, toward the tower door dot inside. The Starwatcher is still asleep. The fire has cooled to soft ash. Her cat stirs briefly, ears twitching toward the stairs, but not alarmed dot. It's as if he's been waiting for this. The girl places one hand on the wooden door. It is ancient and cold, but it does not resist dot. It opens with a long, low creak. The spiral stairs inside breathe in the faint moonlight behind her. She looks up. The top vanishes into shadow, but her feet already know where to go dot. She climbs, one soft step at a time, hand brushing the stone wall for balance dot, up and up, like a leaf carried by wind dot, until she reaches the top and sees her. The Starwatcher is still resting, head tilted slightly, eyes closed, hands folded beneath her chin. The fur cloak has slipped off one shoulder, revealing the soft folds of a linen sleeve. The cat looks at the girl, then looks away. The girl says nothing. She does not want to wake her dot, so she walks quietly to the edge of the stone platform, where stars once again blink between the clouds. She kneels, opens her notebook, and begins to draw dot, not words, not yet, but shapes. Swirls of stars. A fox curled at the edge of the moon. An owl, wings spread over a constellation she doesn't know the name of. She breathes, not like someone afraid, but like someone found. Behind her, the Starwatcher stirs. She opens her eyes slowly and sees the girl, not surprised, not startled. She watches in silence, like the stars do. Then, with quiet fingers, she lifts the fur cloak from her own lap and offers it. The girl turns, eyes wide. Then she nods dot. Together, they sit in silence, not as strangers. The stars above them blink slowly, as if pleased, as if watching something ancient unfold again, just as it always does when one watcher grows old and another begins to see. The girl sits silently, the fur cloak now around her shoulders, much too large, but she doesn't mind. It smells of crushed lavender and soft parchment. The Starwatcher does not speak. She has never liked to speak in the presence of starlight. Instead, she reaches for her old leather journal, the one nearly full. She lays it gently on the stone, floor between them, and opens to a page from long ago. A map of constellations, stars inked by hand, lines connecting them like invisible thread. Some names are familiar, the bear's eye, the ladle, the crown of wind, but others, they're hers, names not found in any book. Names of creatures she once dreamed of. She turns the page slowly. The paper crackles, but softly. Like old leaves drifting across tile dot, the girl leans forward, eyes wide. Fingertips brushing the edge of the parchment, careful not to smudge. The Starwatcher finally speaks. Her voice is quiet, like stone warmed by sun. They don't arrive all at once, she whispers. The stars. You see them first as strangers. Then slowly, you remember them. As if they were waiting for you to return. The girl nods. They sit like that for some time. No need for candles. The moon has returned. And with it, a new clarity in the sky. The girl points. Toward the west. 3. Stars curve like a sleeping squirrel. What's that one called? She asks softly. The Starwatcher smiles. It isn't named yet, she says. Not by me. The girl looks at her, uncertain. Then back at the sky. She thinks for a moment. Then whispers, the nest. The older woman nods. And without a word, dips her quill and writes it in the margin. The nest. A new constellation. Now part of the sky forever. Down below, a rooster stirs, but only slightly. The night is not yet ready. To lift. There are still dreams to hold. Still stars to name. The Starwatcher looks at the girl, then reaches into a small wooden box near her satchel. Inside another journal, smaller, unmarked. She offers it. Open palm. The girl hesitates, then takes it. It is blank, but not empty. It is filled with all that is yet to be written. The hush of night, the breath of stars, the naming of light. And for the first time in many seasons, the Starwatcher leans back against the stone railing, pulls the second cloak around her shoulders, and lets her eyes drift closed. Not because she is tired, but because she is peaceful above. Them both, the stars continue their slow turning, unhurried, unchanging, endlessly new. The morning does not arrive all at once. Not here. It seeps in like warm tea through linen, soft, patient, unhurried. A thin gray line appears on the eastern edge of the sky, and the last of the stars prepare to sleep. The apprentice, still cloaked, still sitting, holds her new journal in both hands. Her thumb brushes the spine back and forth, as if warming it awake. Beside her, the Starwatcher stirs again. She does not stretch. She does not speak. Instead, she listens to the silence between them, to the pulse of the moment. Then, very slowly, she uncaps the small bottle of ink. The blue kind, dark as deep sky just before the stars arrive. She sets it gently between them, then lays down 2 quills. One old and polished, the other new, its feather still full and soft, edges uncut. The girl looks at them, then at the Starwatcher. A question in her eyes, but again, no words are needed. She reaches, takes the new quill, weighs it in her hand like something sacred, because it is done in the old days, before glass lenses, before telescopes and equations. There were only ink and memory. Scholars wrote what they saw, and trusted the sky to keep teaching them. The ritual of mapping stars. It wasn't science, not exactly. It was something closer to prayer, a quiet promise to return, to notice, to name, and to pass it on. The apprentice dips her quill for the first time. It trembles just slightly as it touches the ink. She does not rush. She draws a circle, then a smaller one just beside it. A single star, perhaps, or a moon with a companion. She doesn't know what it will become yet, but that's the beauty. The Starwatcher watches, not correcting, only witnessing. She remembers the first time she drew a star, How her hand was unsure, but her heart had never been steadier. She remembers the first time she was told, there is no wrong way to wonder, and so now, she passes that truth silently forward. The light rises just enough to touch the tower stones. A golden whisper against ancient gray dot far below. A baker stokes her fire. A goat bleats softly in a distant barn. But up here, time still moves like honey. Slow, golden, sweet. The cat stretches, circles once, then curls again near the still warm embers of the hearth. The apprentice closes her book. Not from tiredness, but from fullness. One page. One breath. One morning, she turns to the Starwatcher. Will I come again? She asks and this time the answer is spoken. If the stars call you, the Starwatcher replies, you'll find your way, even in the dark, especially in the dark. The girl smiles, then begins her descent. Down the spiral stairs, Cloak brushing the stones like a lullaby, she carries the journal close. Not as a student now, but as something else. Something becoming. Above her, the Starwatcher remains. She does not sleep. She does not write. She simply watches the morning take shape, as she always has, and always will. Until the next one comes. Until the stars call again, and the silence is shared once more. The days pass quietly, as they often do when no one is rushing them. The tower stood still, its stones warming under late summer sun by day, cooling under velvet skies by night. The vines clung tighter, the cat grew lazier, and the stars, faithful as ever, returned each dusk without asking for applause. But tonight, something was different. Something waited above the clouds, restless in its orbit, older than any tower, older than any book. A visitor, a comet, one long forgotten, yet never gone. Inside the tower, the Starwatcher stirred. The hearth was cold, now unlit for days. She did not need its warmth tonight. Instead, she stood near the arched window, one hand resting on the sill, the other wrapped gently around a small iron telescope, one of her few modern tools. Though she still trusted ink and memory far more, she peered into the sky, patient, still, listening not with ears, but with time. And there, just above the low curve of the horizon, it shimmered, a pale silver thread stitching itself across the fabric of night. The Starwatcher's breath caught just briefly. A memory stirred. She turned to an old leather-bound book. The cover cracked like parchment, the pages fragile as breath. She opened it with reverence, not haste, not fear, but ritual. There, on a page near the middle, was a drawing, a long-tailed light, an entry scrawled in careful script. Comet Adelia, seen once in a scholar's youth, returns every 70 winters. Brings dreams with it. The Starwatcher's hand paused above the page. She closed her eyes, counted inward. Yes, it had been 70 winters. She had seen this comet before, when she was no older than her new apprentice down in the village. No one noticed. The hearths were warm. The doors were bolted. The bread was rising slow. But here in the tower above, the quiet world, a reunion was beginning. She lit a single candle, set her fresh journal beside it, and dipped her quill. With each stroke, she mapped its path. Careful arcs, gentle curves. No rush. Stars do not rush, and neither should we. Outside, the wind rose, just slightly, enough to rustle the vines, to whisper across the wooden beams above. The cat twitched its ears in its sleep. A single leaf loosened and spiraled down the stairwell, and the tower breathed. The Starwatcher paused her writing, looked up. The comet shimmered still, not moving fast, but moving with purpose. She smiled, not because of wonder, but because of memory. The last time she saw this comet, she had just begun her studies. Her own Starwatcher was old then, hands knotted, voice thin, but eyes bright as frost. They had stood at this very window, wrapped in wool cloaks, scribbling together Dot, and now she was the elder, the witness, the keeper of Richiyor, and I juiced Dot the ink. Dried slowly in the soft candlelight, she closed the book, wrapped it in a square of linen, and placed it among her others, a quiet library of skies past. She would show the apprentice tomorrow, but not explain, just allow. Allow her to see, to wonder, to record, to become Dot, and outside, the comet continued, drifting, ancient, silent Dot as it had always done, as it always would, until the next 70 winters passed and another cloak waited at the tower's edge. The morning after the comet passed, the village awoke to the soft scent of rain, not rain falling, but the kind that lingers in the leaves, waiting. Mist hung low in the valley. It clung to cobblestones, soft to the corners of rooftops, and turned the far trees to gentle silhouettes. Up the winding path, near the tower's base, a young girl stood with a satchel in hand. The apprentice, she had been sent for herbs, but something had pulled her gaze skyward, a tug from some old place. In the soul, though she had missed the comet, she felt it had seen her Dot inside the tower. The Starwatcher was already awake. Not just awake, but preparing. She unwrapped the linen bundle from the night before, opened her new sky journal, and left it quietly on the apprentice's work table. The candle beside it was still warm. Its tiny wick whispered smoke into the air as if trying to keep secrets, and beside the journal, a note in careful looping script. The stars remember who watches them. The apprentice entered slowly, her steps muffled by the thick rugs. She smelled ink, lavender from the drying bundles above, and the distant sweetness of perwood smoke from a nearby chimney. Then she saw the journal. She ran her fingers along, the edge hesitant. Was it for her? She opened it gently. There, on the first page, a sketch of the comet with soft gray shading that almost shimmered, and a date, nothing else. No lecture, no instruction. Just invitation. That night, she climbed the stairs alone. The Starwatcher remained below, silently encouraging the girl to find her own way up. Each step creaked, but not from age, from memory. At the top, the apprentice wrapped herself in the second cloak. It smelled of juniper and wool. Too large, a bit scratchy, perfect. She stood beneath the stars, not looking for names, not mapping, not yet. Just breathing them in. And then she noticed the thinnest line, faint and fading now, but still drifting across the sky's curve. The comet. It was leaving, but not before saying goodbye. She opened her own small journal, took a piece of charcoal from her pouch, and slowly, with hands unsteady but honest, she drew what she saw. Not perfectly, not scholarly, but truthfully. And that the tower would remember. Below, the cat curled near the embers. The wind sighed at the shutters, and the Starwatcher smiled into the quiet. She would not teach tonight, because sometimes the stars do the teaching. The sky had been quiet for many nights. Too quiet, the apprentice thought, as she looked out from the tower's window and noticed a strange ripple in the air. Not waned exactly, but a hush before it, like the breath the forest takes before it. Sighs. She wrapped the cloak tighter around her shoulders, its edges now familiar, smelling faintly of cedarwood and thyme. Tonight, she would watch for clouds. Below the hills, the first thunder rumbled. Not the sharp kind that wakes the sleeping, but the kind that purrs, low, rolling, ancient. She turned the great telescope eastward, toward the edge of the visible lands, and caught sight of lightning far off, tiny threads weaving across the night. St. Elmo's fire, the Starwatcher had once whispered, was thought to be a holy omen by sailors, a fire that danced, not burned. She wondered now what this lightning meant to those who didn't fear it. The first drops hit the tower windows, like fingertips tapping from the sky. She closed her journal gently, setting it beneath a leather strap to keep it dry, then pulled the shutters nearly closed. but not all the way. She wanted to hear the storm's voice, wanted to let it in, just a little. The room grew darker. The single candle on her desk swayed in the draft. Its flame bent like a dancer bowing to the wind. Dot, and then a flash, a pause, then thunder. Dot, in the safety of the tower. The storm did not feel wild. It felt curious, like a creature circling, trying to remember something. She leaned her head against the cool glass and imagined it, a storm, longing to be understood. She had read that some medieval villagers believed storms were arguments between the sky gods. Others said thunder was the sound of saints dragging their heavy robes across the clouds. But here, tonight, the storm felt like an old friend with a sorrowful song, and she listened. Rain soon began to fall in earnest, a steady, silver sound that seemed to scrub the night clean. She lay back on the window bench, cloak still wrapped around her, and let the rhythms lull her. Not charting, not recording. Dot, just being. And as she drifted toward sleep, she thought she heard something in the rain, not words. Not music. Dot, but understanding. Dot, in the morning, she would sketch the shape of the clouds as they had been when they first arrived. Long like ribbons, wide as size. Dot, she would note the time between flash and thunder. She would write, the storm did not frighten the stars. They blinked behind it, waiting. They always wait. And beside the entry, she would draw a single drop of water falling through sky.